Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Ray from Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. Thank you for joining us for another week looking at, you know what, we got a special show for you today. We're not looking at sports in general. We're going to be looking at the Ohio State Buckeyes in that 2024 season that they had last year. For all you lovers and the haters of Ohio State, I think that you will enjoy this show. I have my favorite Ohio State Buckeye fan here, my man Ripper, the predictor. How's it going, Ripper?
Good. How you doing, Ray?
Great. So you know the reason why when I reached out to you about this show, it was specifically because I just wanted to unpack what happened in that 2024 season. And I mean, I just wanted to wrap my head around it because it was something that it wasn't unexpected by any means, but it was something that, like, they were not favored going into the season, I don't think, to be the ones that are going to win it all. You were looking at teams like Georgia, Texas, Oregon was expected to be going pretty far. I think it was Ohio State was expected to have 10.5 wins, so they were expected to make it into the playoffs. But it was kind of up in the air, in my opinion, on who would end up winning it all at the end, just because it was a coin toss with that 12-team playoff. What was going to happen at the end and so forth. So I thought it would be interesting to just unpack the entire season and then see where we go from there. So I just wanted to thank all my listeners, though, for listening to the show. The Guys About Talking Sports, we are here every week, and we wanted to thank y'all. If you want to join the conversation with us, you can do that as well. And we have a Facebook group where you can join the conversation at. If you want to put your input, post on there and so forth, join that Facebook group. If you like to follow the show as well, you can do that on TikTok and on Instagram. And if you want to support the show because you like what you hear, we accept Venmo, and that would be at Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. So like I said, thank you for joining us, listening to the show, and keep on listening, keep on sharing, and you know what? Subscribe to the show. Bring a friend along if you want to. So let's unpack this season, shall we? Man, do we need to start with the 2023 season, or do we need to go even further back than that?
No, when you talk about this championship team, it really all began about 4 years ago with the recruiting class of 2021.
The recruiting class of 2021. Okay. Tell me more.
All right, so let me just run through some of the names that were on that recruiting class from 2021. And these initial ones, these are players that stayed with the team for 4 years through the championship run. So first we got Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Travion Henderson, Amika Igbuka, Donovan Jackson, Tyleek Williams, Jordan Hancock, Denzel Burke, and Cody Simon. All starters and significant producers over their last few years on the team. Other notable recruits from that year, and this kind of helps the team develop on who they become for 2024. Also in that class, we had Quinn Ewers, the Texas quarterback. He reclassed a year early, and he became a 2021 recruit, as well as Kyle McCord, who was a 5-star recruit as well. And he was kind of a package deal with Marvin Harrison Jr. So some pretty talented people, and a lot of those names had a significant impact, especially in the playoffs this year.
Wow. Okay. So we go back to the 2021 recruiting season. They had some powerhouse recruits. And you know what? They had been recruiting, top 5. I think they were number 1 for like 2 or 3 years in a row. If not Georgia, right? Because Georgia was dominant in that time frame as well. You also had, Texas was throwing people up there as well. So you had a few teams. Ohio State for the Big Ten was the dominant recruiter. Michigan was doing well, but they were only top 10, if not even top 15 or so, because it's just the way that they recruited over there. But
yeah, they had definitely led the Big Ten in recruiting, and typically a top 5 overall class in the country.
Yeah, and what makes it that these players want to go play for Ryan Day then? Because it was a little bit different then. You didn't have as much NIL going on in 2021 as you do now, it doesn't seem like to me.
Well, also, that was pretty early on in before the transfer portal got out of control. If you remember back to Justin Fields leaving Georgia and coming to Ohio State, I believe 2021 was his second year as our quarterback, so it would have been his senior year. Brian Hartline, our receivers coach, now co-offensive coordinator for the upcoming season, hell of a recruiter. And it's not just Ryan Day, but Larry Johnson, defensive line coach. He's always been a really good recruiter. And some of the other lesser-known coaches on the staff, really good recruiters. So it's not just Ryan Day. However, Ryan Day does have a winning I guess, reputation. And prior to this season, unfortunately, some people viewed him as a coach that just couldn't win that big game. But when you looked at, his resume from top to bottom, he won. I mean, he was like 56-8 or something going into the season.
I mean, pre-2021, you weren't having that, he just can't win the big game, because he took over in 2018?
Right. So I think prior.
First season was 2019 that he coached, though?
Correct. So, yeah. 2019, I think it might have been 2020.
2020 was the first full season that he
Correct.
coached. Okay, so then.
And he beat Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following year, the shortened COVID season, Michigan didn't play. So he started out 1-0. So that didn't really hit him at that point until the playoffs. And then he kind of got beat up pretty bad by Alabama in the championship game, and then missing the field goal against Georgia in the playoffs. So, and then a couple, 2-3 straight losses, from the team up north. And then he kind of builds that reputation, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
When Ohio State's team in 2021 finished the season, offensively there was no issue. Explosive, a lot of firepower, running game, aerial attack, but defensively they had slipped to 38th in scoring defense at the end of the year. So something needed to be done. That was the 2021 season.
Okay. And then 2022, they come back, they fix some of those issues, you think? Or
no, absolutely. So 2022, some key coaching hires. They got Jim Knowles from Oklahoma State to be their defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately turned around that defense. In 1 year, he went from 38th to 24th. It's an improvement. But over the next 2 years after that, he went from 24th to second, and then from second to this past season, almost first in every defensive team category, especially first in scoring defense. So
okay. So 2023 season comes around, and I remember, this was the team that was supposed to be stacked like nobody's business in order to win a national championship. All of the pundits were saying, this is the team that is going to be in the top 4, that's going to, at the end of the season, have Ohio State at the top. And they went 11-1, didn't they?
Yeah, well, possibly. So 2022, we had... Thank you. 2022, we had C.J. Stroud. That was his last year.
Mm-hmm.
So going into the 2023 season, we've got questions at quarterback, arguably the most important position on the field.
For sure.
And when I go back to Quinn Ewers reclassing, and then after a year at Ohio State going to Texas, that put Kyle McCord kind of in the driver's seat to take that position. Unfortunately, that just didn't appear to be a good fit for the head coach, Ryan Day.
Why do you say that? Because he did, he played fine. He had 3,000 plus yards passing, which isn't spectacular by any means, but that's a team that had plenty of yards rushing as well.
No, absolutely. He was just missing that it factor, I think, from what Ohio State typically receives from their quarterbacks over the last 10, 15 years, and maybe a little bit more of a running threat, but I think most of it is leadership. And, C.J. Stroud wasn't maybe as much of a vocal leader as we were used to seeing, but you couldn't deny what he was doing on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that kind of overruled that lack of perceived leadership. And then it just seemed like the entire season, Kyle McCord was fighting for his job against, a 4-star from, I think, Utah, Devin Brown. That seemed to be the guy that Coach Day wanted to be the guy, and it just never really happened. So going into 2023, we've got Kyle McCord, but we've got a lot of talent offensively. We still have Travion Henderson running the ball. We've got a new recruit in Carnell Tate at receiver. We still have Marvin Harrison Jr., who's a stud.
You guys were stacked on that from the wide receiver standpoint. I think there was like 4 or 5 that were like just dominating the field.
Yeah, it's been that way for about 6 years, honestly.
Yeah, it has.
So ever since we had Wilson and Olave.
But this was the season that everybody was saying these guys are going to take it all the way.
Yeah, I think, maybe 11-0, and then we got tripped up by that team up north. So that would have been our one loss in 2023. And it just didn't happen.
In that sense, you guys number down. From losing that specific game, you did not get into the Big Ten championship, which then with Michigan going undefeated, winning the Big Ten championship, they end up going to getting into the top 4, and it kind of pushed you guys out.
Right, and I think we had 2 Big Ten. Well, actually, Washington wasn't a Big Ten team yet.
Nope.
So you had Pac-10, you had Washington, Michigan, and Alabama, and probably Georgia.
Georgia wasn't in that year.
Okay, I don't remember who the 4th team was.
I can't remember either.
Doesn't matter.
If we had the Rain Man himself over here, Mountain Man, we'd know everything about the entire season.
But things just didn't quite work out in 2023, which pushes us into 2024. So we've got new coaching changes.
Yeah, so going into that season, you got the new coaching changes that Ryan Day's trying to figure out, hey, how the hell am I going to beat Michigan? I mean, the one thing that I need to do is fix a few things in that. I mean, obviously the fan base is like, you need to beat Michigan, and anything else is a failure.
Well, it seemed like our defense had definitely, after 2 years under Jim Knowles, went from 38th in his 3rd year. They're up to 2nd overall in scoring defense. Ryan Day goes and, picks up his mentor, Chip Kelly from UCLA, the head coach, and brings him in to be an offensive coordinator.
That's one of the
that was the key coaching
Okay.
move prior to the 2024 season. Mm-hmm. Is bringing in Chip Kelly.
Yep.
And then you got to go back to the recruiting again. I mean, a generational talent in Jeremiah Smith. Picked up Julian Saying, quarterback, originally committed to Alabama.
Are these all pickups in December, or were those in April? Do you remember?
No, these would have been December.
December. Okay.
Yeah, so
they're going straight to getting the right people in the right places. That's what they're looking to do.
Right. And then we've got James Peoples. He was basically our 3rd running back this year, and it's going to be key moving forward to 2025 when we talk about it.
Gotcha. So coming out of the season, what exactly was Ryan Day looking to change on this team?
Well,
obviously he's just looking to tweak. They had a good season. Nobody could deny that.
Well, we're back at the end of 2023. So Kyle McCord entered the transfer portal like the day after the season ended.
Yeah, the news story, as I was reading on that today when I was getting ready for this show, we're like, what on earth is Ohio State going to do? Because that was unexpected. And obviously there was a few people that were behind him I think there was 3 people behind him that could have taken that position, but none of them were really where they needed to be to lead that team.
Well, I think we saw that in the bowl game with our backups.
Didn't you guys get blown out almost, right?
Yeah, just couldn't move the ball down the field at all.
Yep.
So went in the transfer portal, picked up Will Howard. That was a big move. Picked up center.
Where did he come from for our listeners?
Kansas State University.
Kansas State, okay.
And then picked up a center from Alabama, Seth McLaughlin. Picked up Ole Miss running back Quinshawn Judkins, and then the safety Caleb Downs from Alabama. So, I mean, out of those 4 players, that's pretty solid when it comes to impact players through the portal.
Yeah, and all of those players had really good seasons for 2024, and Ryan Day made the right decisions on those. He's figured out what the recruiting piece is, and it seems like he's figured out how to get the key players in place. Like, he's not getting half-assed talent, excuse my language. He's getting pretty damn good players from these already top-ranked programs. I mean, Ole Miss is a beast of a program as it is, right? And where else did people? I mean, Kansas State. I mean, that's a different story.
But Alabama. I mean, once Saban left, that really opened up the floodgates for some of those players to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's true.
And typically, they end up going to their second choice school.
Mm-hmm.
And for Caleb Downs, he was on our radar for a while in the recruiting battle.
Sure.
So this past year, Ohio State finished the regular season first in scoring defense, and again, most in all defensive statistical categories. And as they say, defense wins championships. It's hard to deny that.
So they have the right pieces in place on the offense. Now they have the right pieces in place for the offense with the right offensive coordinator. You're looking at a pretty solid defense as it is, right?
It's a good mix of, your core 15 to 18 recruits from your 2021 season hanging around, and then, a couple sprinkled in from the 2022, 2023, and 2024 recruiting cycles. And then bringing in some of those key season players to the portal. So it was kind of address your issues and your concerns and your weaknesses on your team from every angle that you can. So Ryan Day did a really good job with that and his staff.
Have you ever, are you one of the fans that have doubted Ryan Day this whole time? Were you thinking to yourself, if they just can't beat Michigan this year, that I'm done with them, I want them gone? Because I hear a lot of that within that fan base. And maybe it's just the few really loud fans about this that you hear through Facebook and Instagram and everything else, right? Through the social networks, you hear these really loud fans that just want him gone, But then those loud fans make it onto TV on Saturday morning as well.
Well, it's not just the fans; the pundits are the worst about it.
And that's where all those loud fans end up getting to those pundits on ESPN and also on XM Sirius Radio and so forth, and all the radio shows that we listen to throughout the week, all of the podcasts that we listen to throughout the week. Those fans get to those people, and eventually, it becomes true. Like same thing with Florida's coach, right? Billy Napier. This year, the first 4 games of the season.
You had to bring them into this one.
Well, last week we made it that every time that you bring up your team, you have to do a shot, right? so I guess I owe you one shot of Fireball. But that being said, all of the controversy around that ended up, all the fans being very loud, ended up making it so that you start hearing all the pundits saying Billy Napier's got to go, and then finally the school was like, fuck you. We just signed him for another year for sure. He's not going.
So I could feel it brewing. I can't say that I ever wanted him or thought that he should lose his job.
Yeah, because
I could feel that a lot of pressure would be on the university, to go a different direction and I think I remember saying earlier this year, if he doesn't if he doesn't win the whole thing, then he might be on thin ice. I don't think that was fair. But he brought up 2 points that kind of made me veer away from that line of thought. One is the school backed him after the loss. They said he's not going anywhere. He's our coach. Mm-hmm. And 2, Ryan Day brought up a great point for all Ohio State fans prior to this championship. He was like, hey, in the last 50 years, we've won 3 championships. We don't win championships every year. We compete and put ourselves in positions to play for them, but we're not winning championships every year. So
yeah, it's not a dynasty by any means where you're expecting to win every other season like Alabama was from 2008 until 2024, basically, or
right.
23.
I remember being a kid wondering, are they ever going to win a championship while I'm alive? And since I was in my early 20s, we won 3. I'm fortunate for that.
Oh yeah.
So, once you get the right, people in place, things can happen.
Yeah. So Ryan Day is definitely no Billy Napier, and I always defended Ryan Day in that sense. I heard a lot of criticism about him and so forth. I think that we've brought it up on this show a few times, and I was always like, dude, the guy's winning 11 games this season. Like, you cannot fire a coach that's recruiting like that, always in the top 5. You cannot fire a coach who is winning 11 games every season, and the one kryptonite is Michigan. And it's just, we have short-term memory when it comes to sports, college football in general. The entire 90s, I think we went 1-8-1 against Michigan. Mm-hmm. And then we won, 8-9 in a row, something like that. So we got used to winning. You don't remember, a decade ago. Anything past 10 years is ancient history. Anything past 5 years ago is ancient history in some ways.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Florida fan who
that's twice, that's 2.
who is dwelling on 2006 and 2008 as much as I can. But that's 2 shots. I'm just doing that so I can get more shots.
Yeah,
that's
of course.
What's going on.
We don't even have a bartender tonight.
I know. So round them up, man. Round them up. We might have to take a break and do some shots. Okay, so you're not one of those fans. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. He stacked himself a pretty damn good team for going into the 2024 season. What the pundits were saying at the time, 10.5 wins. That's what they were saying.
I think they were preseason top 5.
Yeah, they were preseason top 5. They were expected to be at least in the playoffs for sure. 10.5 wins, so 11 wins, right? That was the over-under basically on that. And even the experts, they were like, Ohio State should dominate the Big Ten. It was Oregon. They were expecting Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State to dominate the Big Ten. That was not necessarily the case when you have Indiana taking over for Michigan, basically, in that case. And then Penn State, they expected them to be a contender as well.
Right.
I think Oregon was a little bit up in the air, though, as well, going into the season, just because they had just lost Bo Nix, and they brought in a new quarterback.
I think they were. I think Oregon were a lot of people's pick to win the whole thing this year, and that was reinforced mid-season against Ohio State.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they were stacked up as well, but you always wonder what's going to happen with a quarterback, right? Just like you guys going into the season, like you don't know what the quarterback's going to do.
Yeah, Oregon started out top 5 too, and then they had a couple of close games early on in the season, had to come back to beat Boise.
Yeah, that Boise State was like, what is going on with
so they
with
dropped
Oregon?
a few spots and then climbed their way back up.
Yeah, for sure. First 5 games of the season.
So the Buckeyes, they started 5-0.
Yep.
Averaged 46 points per game, giving up just 6.8. And then that was after their first 5, and then they get their first true test when they go to Eugene and take on Oregon.
Yeah, so Akron, they won 52-6. Western Michigan, 56-0. Marshall, 49-14. Michigan State, 38-7. Iowa, 35-7. And you expected those first 4 games to be to dominate, obviously.
Yeah, I thought Iowa might be a little closer, but
yeah, and Iowa didn't turn out to be the team that they were on defense as they had been in the past, right? I mean, you guys put up 35 points against them, and last year they were only giving up like 12 points a game.
Correct.
They had a little bit better offense this year, but defensively they were not as strong, and that's why they didn't perform the way that they had. Because I remember last year, like they would win these games 12-10. You know, like
yeah, it was miserable.
Yeah, I mean, hard games to watch for sure. This season, everyone expected them to, at least be in the middle half of the Big Ten. I think they did end up in the middle half, but you guys dominated that game. But then, yeah, you go into Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, and then that game. I mean, looking at the stats in hindsight, right? They were even rushing. They were even yards basically rushing. They were even yards passing. Total yards completely even. I mean, at halftime it was 22-21. Like this was an evenly matched game. Both of these teams were there to win that game. I think just the fact that it was a home game for Oregon, like you always give that team 1.5 points, right? In Vegas they do.
Right.
Like I think it was just a fact. It was a home game in Oregon, and you guys lost the game.
It was a home top 5 game.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you can remember that game, a couple of weird things. We had a turnover. I think Howard threw an interception on Ohio State's own side of the field, so they gave a short field to Oregon. And then there was that onside kick that Oregon had bounced off of, one of the front defenders. So
unexpected?
Unexpected.
Yeah, totally
and they kind of got like a little, an extra possession out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that final drive, I think we had a holding penalty, pass interference, and then some clock mismanagement, which basically took us out of field goal range when we had an opportunity to kick a field goal with about 10, 15 seconds left, but just kind of squandered that opportunity. And at the time, I didn't think that was the end of the season. I think it was just some things that had to be cleaned up with a 12-team format. You can take a loss or two and still survive.
Ohio State did have 2 fumbles that game. That that definitely affects that score as well.
Yeah, so Junkins, I know he had like a sore wrist or something like that, and basically he just had the ball pried from his hand, and I don't know what the other fumble was. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just saw that. I mean, that right there, 2 fumbles, as well as the fact that it was a home game for Oregon.
Yeah, you got to win the turnover battle on the road.
Yeah, so
especially against a top 5 team.
So the end score on that, I think it was 32-31. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So after that game, you did not think that Ohio State was done for the season.
Not at all. Not at all. Just needed to clean some things up.
Did it give you some doubts though? Were you thinking, "Oh crap, Indiana's playing pretty good at this point"?
Well, we were averaging 6.8 points per game on defense. So then we give up 32 on the road. Now I'm wondering, all right, have we been exposed to something, or did we just have a bad day? I don't know.
I think in some ways you guys might have been exposed a little bit because Nebraska comes in, puts up 17 points against you guys with a 21-17 loss, right? Or you guys won 21-17.
Correct.
And then Penn State, but Penn State's a pretty dominant team as well. So
I think that was on the road, top 5 opponent again.
Yeah, 20-13 was that score. But at that point, it seems like people are at least able to score a little bit. I mean, obviously 13 points and 17 points isn't enough, but I mean, Nebraska isn't exactly a juggernaut on offense, right? Penn State typically wins through their defense as well. But I mean, you guys won those games, and I think those are both road games too. Nebraska was a road game.
No, I think it was a home game.
Oh, it was a home game? Okay. But Penn State was a road game.
Correct.
And then you got Purdue. You destroyed them, but they were really bad this season. No one expected anything but 45-0 on that. Northwestern, same thing. Like they were coming up for a couple of years, right? But I mean, it's hard to recruit when you're Northwestern. I think that they have really high standards.
I think that was actually our opponent the last time Ohio State was in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, so they had about a 6-year run.
A few years ago.
Yeah, they had a 6-year run where they were winning a lot in the West for sure. But now that there's no West and no East, it's just one Big Ten. And then Indiana. Going into that game, Indiana's undefeated. You guys have one loss, and a lot of people thought Indiana, I mean, just had the offense that would be able to take you guys down. I think that it was not, the spread was not that large on that, like maybe 3 or 4 points.
No. I think it was.
You think it was more than that?
I do.
7.5 or something?
I want to say 9.
9, really?
Yeah, but I was concerned because yes, they were playing inferior opponents.
Yeah, Indiana had no.
But they beat them the way you're supposed to beat them when you're a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, they were a strong
team. Yeah, they were
team.
top 3 in scoring offense, top 10 in scoring defense. So they looked the part.
They sure did, but they did not look the part against Ohio State. 38-15 loss by Indiana. Ohio State. I'd love to see all the figures and facts on that one, man. But I mean, I think they put up well over 400 yards of total offense as well during that game. I could actually look it up if I need to. But then you got the Michigan loss, though. The Michigan kryptonite. Going up to Ann Arbor, Michigan, right? And I mean, everyone expected you guys to win. They had 6 wins.
Are you sure that wasn't a home game? I kind of think that might have been a home game.
Oh, that was in Ohio?
I think it was.
That was in Columbus, really? Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think it was.
Well, let me see here. So I got
actually, I got the schedule.
Back. Oh yeah, it was a home game. Yeah, it was Michigan at Ohio State. Wow. That changes things a little bit too, huh? To go into Columbus and beat you guys.
Like for the first time that I can remember, I chose to go fish a tournament instead of watching that game.
It's your fault then.
I know, but I would rather go lose fishing than watch us lose on TV, honestly. Mm-hmm. But I think they just, that was just one of those days where you happen to have your worst game of the season against your biggest rival.
Yeah, so Michigan held you guys to a total of 252 yards on offense. Now, not saying Michigan is a dominant offensive team either. Like, they had 234 total yards of offense, but they rushed the hell out of your defense. Like 172 yards they put up rushing to y'all's 77 yards of rushing. Hold on. I think
there it is.
There you go. And then you got you got a burp in there too.
That's not me burping.
I don't know. I can't remember who was that. Who I recorded burping like that. All right. So what happened? What happened on this game? Because it's kryptonite, man. I'm telling you. Ryan Day he might get butterflies in his stomach every time he's about to play Michigan. I don't know. No. But it's not him. I mean, it's the team too. So
I don't believe he has won. So during the COVID year when Michigan didn't play, I think he said something like, we're going to drop 100 on them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something along those lines. We're going to drop 50 or we're going to drop 100 on them. And Michigan bowed out because of COVID reasons 2021. Every year since, they have beat us 4 years in a row. So
is that the reason why it was set? I can't remember which pundit said it, but he said, like, this is a team that is not tough. Do you remember this? No,
I remember it. So after they finally beat us the first time in like 8-9 years, something like that. So 2019. So when they won in 2019, they said they're just not tough enough. And they took that to heart, and he tries to play Michigan like Michigan instead of playing Michigan like Ohio State. If you play Michigan with your strengths, you'll be able to beat them 9 out of 10 times. If you go and play Michigan the way Michigan plays football, you're probably going to lose 9 out of 10 times. So hopefully he's learned from those mistakes over the last 4 years. And when they face off next year, you utilize your skilled players and you take what you can get, and you don't try to run into a wall, and his team's not built for 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And that's what he wants to be against Michigan, because he wants to instill his will, against them with his team. Mm-hmm. That's what a rivalry will do to you. It'll take you out of your game, get in your head, and cause you to make mistakes. And I think that's what's going on there.
They held Quinshon Judkins to 46 yards, 12 carries.
I mean, that's almost 4 yards a carry. I mean,
yeah, 3.8. Trevion Henderson, 21 yards on 10 carries, 2.1 yards, and then Will Howard rushed 4 times for 10 yards, and that's all the rushing that you guys did. And then you had receiving. I mean, it was dismal as well. So,
well, this team all year has been built for the pass to set up the run.
Yeah.
Again, in that game, they were trying to use the run to set up the pass.
2 interceptions thrown as well. I mean, it was bad. I mean, to put up 10 points when you guys are putting up like in the 40s and 50s every game almost.
Yeah.
I mean, not against Penn State, not against Nebraska, but otherwise. I mean, you guys had a really dynamic offense, and it just. Do you think that he tried to lose that game?
No, but obviously it was the best thing that could have happened for that team.
Yeah. So they wouldn't have made the Big Ten championship anyway if they would have won that game, because they still had Oregon and Penn. No, they may have won. They may have been because they beat Penn State.
They beat Penn State.
No, but Indiana would have. No, they beat Indiana as well.
Yeah, they would have been against Oregon to get their revenge game in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, because at the time we were like, ooh, a rematch in the Big Ten championship if they win. And then, but then
all for all at this point,
Yeah, it's just, it turned out where it was a good decision because they were placed in the seating in the exactly where they needed to be to win.
I can't say that.
No, not really, because they had some tough opponents, and we'll get to those in a second. Then, right?
Yeah, but I think maybe just that extra week off, instead of having to prepare for a championship game, maybe that helped, and maybe we find ourselves going away from the conference championship format in the future because of it. That's an extra week to get healthy. That's an extra week to practice. That's an extra week to prepare.
They will never get rid of the conference championships. They're actually trying to figure out ways to strengthen the conference championships right now to make sure that the players or the teams will play in those and not worry about I think what they're going to end up doing is making it so that all 4 of those conference champions are like 1 through 8 or something like that.
Right.
Automatically,
how do you
win or lose?
How do you strengthen the conference championship games when your conferences are weakened by 2 dominant conferences?
Oh yeah, I know. SEC and Big Ten are it, and I don't know. And then within the SEC, within the Big Ten, there's those 4 or 5 teams that are going to dominate every year as well. But every team has a chance. We saw that with Indiana. Nobody expected that coming out of the season. I think people were saying Purdue would be like the outlier dominant team in the Big Ten.
Hey, good for them. Good on them. They had a great season, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do next year. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first time we've done a one-on-one or two people on the show, by the way, and it's actually it's not too bad because the conversation's going good. Anyway. That's up for the listeners to decide, right? Okay, so first game of the playoff. Could it be any worse than have to play an SEC team, right? You're the Big Ten playing the SEC. Give you a Big 12 team. Give you a ACC team. Give you a Group of 5 team. But nope, you guys have to play Tennessee. And Tennessee was a pretty good team this year. They had a few issues on offense with the quarterback not being at the level that they were hoping he would play, right?
But they were the 3rd best SEC team, right?
Yeah, they were the 3rd best SEC team. Yeah,
right.
It was Texas, Georgia, and then Tennessee, right? And those teams,
or Georgia, Texas, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think it would have been Georgia, Texas.
They won the
because they won the conference. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, but Tennessee, man, when you're thinking, okay, we got to play Tennessee as the first round of the playoffs. But they dominated. We'll say they decimated them, 42-17. Showed that SEC domination is kind of like, but we're Ohio State, right?
Well, if you know your history about Ohio State versus SEC teams, it's not pretty. Hasn't beaten an SEC team since 2015, I believe, and that was Alabama in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I think they had a win against maybe A&M. They got nullified or something like that. Other than that, they were like 0-8. Stupid. So I was nervous because of that. Those little stigmas, those little ghosts, they kind of hang around longer than they should. Mm-hmm. Couldn't believe what I was watching unfold on the screen, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to have you guys put up that many points against Tennessee, just dominating. And I don't know what happened to Tennessee. Usually they're playing pretty good football. I mean, it's not like they were a slouch of a team that season. Get into the stats on that. For the team stats, I mean, you guys only allowed them to put 256 yards of offense total, 152 rushing yards, 104 passing yards. And Josh Heupel, he is a passing coach, right? He loves throwing that thing, lobbing that thing up to a really fast receiver who can then catch that ball and do those big, gigantic plays that he does. And to only have 104 passing yards, he was pissed. I guarantee it.
Well, the big thing here was our defensive ends really started to show up. JT and Jack Sawyer, they both were just started putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback starting this game, first game of the playoffs. Made a huge difference in the amount of, I guess, coverage ability our secondary had against those, better than average or even elite receivers.
Oh, yeah. And then Ohio State, I mean, Will Howard was 24 for 29, 311 yards, passing, 2 touchdowns. I mean, I think
that was his second best game all year.
Yeah, and then against Tennessee, against the SEC's third best team.
Right.
I mean, completely unexpected. I think that people expected Ohio State to win, but not in such a dominant fashion, right?
Yeah, I mean, when all of the orange was leaving at halftime, that said a lot.
Rose Bowl comes up next.
January 1st.
January 1st, and you got to go face Oregon.
Number 1 ranked Oregon team, rematch.
Mm-hmm. A classic Rose Bowl game, too.
Absolutely.
Big 10 versus Pac-12.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. You can't ask for much more on that. And then you guys only lost by 1 point last game.
And that was actually Will Howard's best game statistically, even though they got the loss.
Throwing up 14 points in the first quarter, it was like, whoa, what team are we watching right now, right? I mean, you guys just destroy Tennessee, just dominate them. And then everyone's like, well, you know what? It's Oregon, man. They already lost to Oregon. Oregon has one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He was a Heisman.
And he lit us up the first time we played him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, he still put up 299 yards against you guys.
A lot of that was second half garbage.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are playing basically, to keep them from basically run the clock out by the second half. So you're letting him have those, 5, 6, 7 yard passes just to run that clock down. Will Howard, 17 for 26, 319 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Look at Jeremiah Smith's stats. Again, true freshman receiver. What do you got?
Oh, yeah. 7 receptions for 187 yards, 26.7 yards on average with 2 touchdowns. Just amazing football.
Yeah. We got him for at least 2 more years if we can.
Yeah, that's right. That was the game where everyone was like, holy shit, what is this guy going to do going forward?
Yeah, I mean, like his first game
he was doing that all season.
Yeah, his very first game he had like 2 incredible one-handed catches on like the first drive. It was stupid.
Yeah, stupid. Yep, exactly. That's the only way to describe it for sure.
Amazing for sure.
Yeah, and then I think people expected this game to be closer, and then you guys dominated the first half. You put up 34.
It's 34-0.
34-0. But they scored 8 points in the second, right at the end must have been, right?
Yeah, like the last
few
minute.
seconds, and they put up a 2-point conversion.
And then I think they went down and scored again, I believe, in the second half. So they got it to 34-15.
Didn't they score right out of the gate
Yeah.
on that first drive in the third quarter? But you know what? I mean, you guys only need to score 7 more points. You still won 41-21. I mean, this is just at this point, people are saying.
This is when I start hearing the naysayers and the
Ryan
naysayers.
Day can't win the big games.
Exactly.
Blah, 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 blah.
This is when I start hearing people say, you know what? It looks like you guys might have something here.
Yeah. And
this is when the naysayers became believers.
Yep. And then you have Texas. Then you have number 3 seed Texas to play against. 28 14 was the final score on that.
And the game was closer than that, if you remember. If not, I can walk you through it.
Well, walk me and walk the listeners through that, because it really was. I mean, both teams were playing really good football that first half, where both teams seemed like they had it in control. Like I thought that Texas had control of the game, even though it was 14-7 going into the half.
So, Ohio State gets the ball first quarter, just drives down the field, scores a touchdown, gets a stop, driving down the field. I think they're about to the 35 in Texas territory. Travion Henderson gets called for a personal foul, backs him up, stalls the drive, force a punt. All the momentum's gone. Texas goes down, scores a touchdown. It's tied up. And it's just like a defensive struggle from here on out. And then you got like 20 seconds left, and we're returning the... No. They scored late in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. And then we've got like 20 seconds left. Henderson takes a screen pass 75 yards to the house. Now we're up 14-7 instead of tied 7-7 going into the half. Mm-hmm. Third quarter, we're up 21-14. Texas is driving to tie the score with 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, maybe less than that. I think it's like 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Texas is driving. They've got the ball first and goal at the 1.
This is at the end of the third quarter because they scored 7 points in the third quarter. So they scored,
okay, so yeah. So it's 21-14.
Yeah.
My point is, it's 21-14. There's 2 minutes left. Texas is down by 7. They've got the ball first and goal at the 1. Now some shady play calling by Texas and some really great defensive plays by Ohio State push them back to 4th and 8. 4th and goal from the 8, and you got Jack Sawyer coming off the edge. Now he's got,
bam!
The play that will live in Ohio State Buckeye lore forever.
And bam!
Strip sack. He runs like 80 yards at a 4.7 clip and gets in the touchdown. We win 28-14.
And all of a sudden, all of the wind goes out of Texas's sails for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last play of the game, Downs secured it. He picked him off with like 6 seconds to go or something like that. But again, they were down 14 at this point. But the game was a lot closer than the score shows.
What sickened me the most about they were on the 1 yard line, first and goal.
First and goal from the 1.
And they're trying to do all these bullshit plays when you could just run it up the middle.
I think they did toss sweep and
ridiculous
from
stuff.
The 1, and Downs just blew it up, and I think it got cleaned up by like Ransom or somebody. And it was just
put them back to it was 3rd and 8. Like you said, and it's just
it was 3rd and 8. Actually,
no, that was where it was 4th and 8. That's right.
No. That play made it 3rd and 8, and then the very next play, Jack Sawyer actually tipped the pass for an incompletion. Then it's 4th and 8. So he had 2 really great plays in a row.
Yeah, when they could have just ran it down the middle 3 times and scored most likely.
Yeah, I mean, sneak it.
It's hard to lose a yard when you're just doing something like that, especially on a quarterback sneak. All you got to do is get 6 inches twice.
But I think Ohio State has actually stopped a first and goal from like the 1, like 4 or 5 times this year. So Texas saw that, but you
have confidence in your line.
I agree. Or your running back.
Yeah, it's not like they had a weak line. It's not like they were losing at the line of scrimmage every single play. They were doing fine. I mean, they had 58 yards rushing, so maybe that's what they were looking at. Who knows? Yeah. For that game, they had 58 yards rushing, but otherwise, I mean, they had decent rushers. I mean, Ohio State stopped them mostly. They had 283 yards passing. Go to what you know, maybe, but still, you're on the 1 yard line, man. Come on, at least run it down the middle twice, and then try something stupid.
Throw a fade. If you're not going to run it, throw a fade.
Pull a Tim Tebow, man, or something.
Yeah.
Like the way that they were doing, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, that's been.
I mean,
that's been hashed.
You're probably going to get a pass
times.
Interference call if you throw a fade to Igbinosa.
Yeah. So now they're going to the national championship game, man. And
Notre Dame.
Who do they have to play? Notre Dame. So Notre Dame.
Nobody saw that.
Yeah.
After taking a loss to Northern Illinois, like in the second week of the year.
Yeah. So Notre Dame's road to this playoff was this. Ready? They beat Indiana 27-17. Then they beat Georgia.
Solid.
Then they beat 23-10. Then they beat Penn State 27-24. And then they have to go play Ohio State. An Ohio State team that is playing really good football right now. I think they were favored by 9 points going
I
into
think
the
it was.
game.
I think it dropped
something
down
like
to
that.
8 or 8.5, like
Yeah.
right before kickoff.
Yeah, Notre Dame, I mean, Notre Dame's loss that season was to Northern Illinois, but otherwise they played pretty damn good football.
No, after that loss, they look good.
Yeah, and I mean, from a quarterback standpoint, Riley Leonard was playing really good football. I just don't. When I was looking at this team, though, I mean, we all knew that Ohio State had most of the talent, like had more talent overall than Notre Dame. Notre Dame was solid, but they weren't expected to be where they were at, man. I mean, to beat Georgia, though, no one expected that.
But another transfer quarterback, 1 year deal. Both teams. So both teams in the national championship have basically 1 year flyer quarterbacks.
That might be the recipe for success for a coach is to find somebody who's been playing at Kansas State for 3-4 seasons, or
somebody that's got that experience, that's got that maturity, and it can take over, and you give them the keys to the car.
You just can't have you got to have someone that's smart. They can pick up an offense quick, though, because those guys that have been playing at Penn State or wherever for the last 4 seasons, a quarterback that's led the team for 3 seasons in a row, like they can get creative with plays. They can get creative with their offense. They're in sync with their team. But I don't think in sync with your team is a thing. I think that's a thing of the past now in college football because of the way that everyone's moving around so much.
I don't know about that. I think these players, they transfer, they get there in January, December sometimes, and they are jumping in with the mindset of, I'm going to be the quarterback of this team. I'm going to get to know my players. I'm going to spend as much time as I can with them until we even, in the weight room, when we're not in, film review, whatever. As much time as I can spend with them, the better off we're going to be on the field. And I think that's probably what's going on. They approach it as a job.
Yeah, and the coaches, that's what they're looking for, is somebody who is going to take ownership of that team as well, I'm sure. Like they're just not going to go get some guy who's really good at XYZ school, and then all of a sudden they interview him and they're like, yeah, this guy has no leadership ability whatsoever. Like they're looking for a few things besides that.
So Will Howard coming out of Kansas State, he wasn't known for being an accurate passer, and one of his weaknesses was throwing the ball deep.
But they still had pretty good seasons under him.
Yeah, he had the good seasons.
You're a K-State.
I'm an alum.
Alum, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Absolutely.
You were happy about that then.
Well, of course. He could definitely run the ball. Mm-hmm. He was an efficient passer, but he wasn't highly accurate. I don't think he had completed more than 63% of his passes in his best year at Kansas State. And then this year he throws for like 71%, something like that, maybe 73. So you take somebody that may not look great in other teams and you put him in the right environment with the right tools and pieces around him. That can be, the ticket to success. So you don't necessarily need the 5-star. He was a 3-star coming out of Pennsylvania. Goes to Kansas State.
Oh, yeah. So Ohio State plays Notre Dame. Right out of the gate, Notre Dame scores. And I was like, whoa, this is going to be a
Drove it right down our throats.
Yeah, this is going to be what was it, a 10-minute? They took 10 minutes off the clock, right? Or was it 15 minutes?
10 minutes off the clock. And then we responded with like an 8-minute drive, something like that.
No. It was 15. Yeah, 10 minutes off the clock. That's right. And then
we
you guys
scored in the second quarter.
Yeah, and then you guys ended up having 5 minutes, and then you guys scored about 2 minutes into the second quarter. That's right. And but from there it was all Ohio State, man. You guys put up 21 points in the first half to their 7. You basically shut down the Notre Dame offense at that point. I mean, what on earth is Riley Leonard going to do, though? I think he puked when he came off the field.
I think he had like 8 carries on the first drive.
Yeah, he was getting his ass handed to him. Yeah,
so
yeah,
getting up 31-7, that really made it more comfortable to observe. But Notre Dame, they made it interesting in the second half. So
sort of. I mean, there was a couple times where you're like, oh, maybe they'll come back, but then
they got it down to a 1-possession game at one point.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. And then, but then you guys end up taking it up in 34-23. Great thing, national champions for the Ohio State. How many national championships do y'all have? 6?
It's 8 or 9, depending on who you talk to.
8 or 9. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 8 because that's like if you look it up, you're gonna see 8, but there's a disputed one out there somewhere.
And last natty was the 2014
season, 2002 before that.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And I mean, very exciting. How was the family You were at the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. I forgot you were at the game.
Yeah, actually,
what was the excitement like at the game?
Well, I mean, it was nervousness for a while. Actually, I ran into a high school buddy I hadn't seen in like 28 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it was neat to see a familiar face from a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Great to celebrate with my wife, mother-in-law, and especially my son. Got to take in the scenery and experience that in person. I don't know if I'd ever go back again.
You were so delusional. You drove home the wrong way. You drove in reverse, or you drove.
I was pretty tired.
You drove to Tennessee rather than to South Carolina.
I did. I wasn't even paying attention. I just put in my address, and it was the same address, just the wrong city. And I think we had to get up early to try to get back and get my son to school on time. And
I think you were trying to go to Ohio State or up to Columbus
to meet the team.
To meet the team, yeah. You were like, it was like your mind was like, all right, I'm driving up to Ohio, and you just end up in Tennessee.
No,
like, what the hell?
No, I had that Dumb and Dumber moment. I was like, John Denver's full of shit. I was like, I got to turn around. I went the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, hey, congrats on that national championship for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Thank you. Congrats to all those Buckeyes out there.
Yeah, I'm glad that Who's Your Daddy gets to see that. I think I respect that guy so much. For the people that are listening, he used to be on the show. And he is a huge Ohio State fan, and also played for Indiana back in the 70s for basketball. So great guy. Would love to have him back on the show sometime, by the way.
I'm sure we'll get him back in here eventually.
Awesome. Okay, now...
Not up those steps, though.
I'll carry him if I have to. Whatever it takes, man. Our studio is on the second floor of an apartment above a garage. So, yeah. Okay, next... What is in store? You got some good notes for this, I hope. What is in store for the 2025 season? You guys have to replace your quarterback. You would have to replace one of your running backs, right? But not.
All right. So the Buckeyes got to replace 15 of 22 starters from the championship team.
You guys have 15 players going to the
combine.
The combine, right?
Yeah.
I saw that. And it was the most of any other team.
Yeah,
I think
right?
so. Yeah, okay. So there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent to replace. So what do you think about this 2025 season then?
Well, you got to replace those players. Offensive coordinator Chip Kelly went to the NFL for $6 million a year to be an offensive coordinator for the Raiders. Got to replace him.
And your defensive coordinator.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So Brian Hartline, our receivers coach, and our tight end coach Keenan Bailey, they will be co-offensive coordinators. And Buckeyes just hired Matt Patricia, formerly DC from the Patriots and head coach of the Lions. He's going to be their new defensive coordinator this year.
Do you feel confident in these replacement coaches?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No Chip Kelly.
No Chip Kelly.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to replace then.
Julian Singh, our freshman, he'll be a sophomore now. He's basically spent a year on the bench learning from Will Howard, learning the offense. He's expected to take the reins as the quarterback unless we pick up another, junior, senior transfer quarterback. But I don't see any of that in the portal like we did last year. I don't see that top-tier talent in the portal. So it'll probably be him battling it out with a 5-star, bigger, more athletic, potentially true freshman coming out of Ohio, and Tavian St. Clair. What else? Jeremiah Smith's coming back. Carnell Tate's coming back. Brandon Ennis coming back. Those will probably be our top 3 receivers. Mm-hmm. James Peoples, he was our 3rd running back this year. And Sam Williams.
He's been around for a while, hasn't he?
No.
Okay.
No, he's a sophomore.
Oh, he's a sophomore. Okay.
Well, I think he will be a sophomore. I think he was a freshman this year.
There must be another Peoples that was out there. That was
Sam Williams Dixon entered the portal, and then he came back. So he's not going anywhere. So that right now he's our number 2. I think we got like a Bo Jackson that's coming in, another running back. So we don't have the elite talent that we had with Henderson, but we got capable running backs. Also, West Virginia transfer running back C.J. Donaldson, big back. If you can remember, like Chip, what was it? Taranum. So he was like our big bag, not this past year, but in 2023.
Okay.
He'd be our short yardage. And then they also just picked up the number 1 ranked transfer tight end from Purdue. His name is Max Clare.
Oh, I saw that. Yep.
So that's a big. That's like the big pickup we got in the portal, and we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the year. We also got another from Rice, really big offensive tackle. We got to replace our offensive tackle, or left tackle, who's going to the NFL, probably a first-round draft pick, got hurt in the Oregon game. Problem is, we got all these things that we got to fill, and then we got little time to make it happen because guess what happens August 30th, 2025?
You guys are playing. Okay, what's happening?
Texas comes to town.
That's right. Yeah, I knew it was a big name team. Yeah.
Yeah. So top 5 matchup, more than likely to start the season at home with a new quarterback, new defensive ends, new running backs, a couple. I can't say new receivers, new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, new offensive line coach. They got a lot of work to do.
That's going to be rough.
Yeah, very rough.
So let's look at the schedule that you guys have. Then you got Texas coming to town on the 30th. And then you got Grambling, which is it has the same logo as the Georgia Bulldogs. So somebody said to me, "Oh, they got Georgia coming to town right after that." I was
But
like,
it's yellow and black.
I was like, no, yeah, the only difference exactly. Then they got Ohio, and then they got Washington. Washington is going to be sneaky good next year. I've been hearing like they're recruiting well and they're finding the right talent within the portal. Second year for a new coach as well. I've heard they might be sneaky good, but it's hard to tell. And then you got Minnesota. Third game, you got Illinois, then you got Wisconsin. Wisconsin is sometimes a toss-up, right? Like they might be good, they might not be this season. They really did suck. But Penn State is going to be coming to town, right? Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan. I mean, not besides Texas and Penn State and Michigan. I mean,
right.
It looks like a.
I look at the schedule and I think we should be with the talent, a 9-3 team. Probably a 10-2 team, and if you're 10-2, you're probably going to be back in the playoffs. If you get back in the playoffs, anything can happen.
You might be 11-1. I mean, Texas. I think that losing Quinn Ewers, is a pretty big loss for them. And yes, you have Arch Manning coming in, but watching him play when he's in, I don't think that he's as good as they think he is.
I think he is as good as advertised and maybe even better.
Okay.
He hasn't been given.
He's getting his test.
Yeah. Yes.
He's going to have his test in August.
He's going to have. He'll be thrown to the wolves, and we'll see if he's prepared for that. And I think he will absolutely be because now he's not sharing reps. He's getting first team reps all through the spring, summer, fall, and he's growing and he's learning and he's getting better. So this is his third year in the system or second?
This is his third year in the system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Third year in the system. So he'll be a redshirt sophomore. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting good things. I don't know what they have around him.
Yeah, I haven't looked at their roster at all, and it's hard to even look at rosters nowadays with the portal the way it is.
But I know they got one. I think they got a really good defensive end.
Yeah, and
it was a freshman of the year, I think, in the country defensively.
Yeah, and they're a top 3 recruiting right now for the last several years. They have plenty of talent on that team. They have plenty of big guys at the front of the line to make sure that Arch can do the running that he needs to do because he is dual threat. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. But then again, he's going to be thrown to the wolves against Ohio State. I mean, what worse thing can happen than to be having to play a big team like that the first game of the season in the world that we're living in now, which is you don't want to have those out-of-conference big games.
No. In the world you want to live now, this is the best case scenario because you get, a good indicator of where your team is at. It's not going to hurt you one way or the other. You can lose a game and still make it. You can lose 2 games and win the whole thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess if you want to play these bigger matchups, but I just don't think that's
you're going to have to do it eventually.
You're going to have to do it eventually. Keep it in conference, though. Keep those big games in conference. But strength of schedule is not as important right now as it was, when you had 4 teams that are going to make the playoff. And then when we go to a 16 team or a 14,
I say don't keep it in conference because that's just going to dilute the regular season. Yeah, we want to watch these games. We want to see, the Alabama versus the Michigans or the Oregon versus the Florida. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you do. Those are fun games to watch.
Yeah.
At least it makes your Saturday better.
Because when you get to the playoffs, at least you're going to have some sort of idea what your team is going to look like when you get there. And if you didn't look so good the first time you played against that SEC or Big 12 or whatever opponent, you're going to have the entire season to approve upon it. And then that's a good measure of success in itself. Even if you don't win the whole thing, you can at least say, hey, we got our butts kicked by Texas or Ohio State the first week of the season. By the time we got to the week 1 or round 1 or round 2 of the playoffs, we beat them or we were competitive. So we made those kind of strides. And that's good when you look at a program for not just 1 year, but like a 3 or 4 year building process. You need to see those gains.
Yeah. And interestingly, you'll probably see Texas again in the playoffs next season.
I hope not. I want Georgia and Alabama.
Really?
Yeah, because those were the last 2 teams to beat us in the playoffs, I believe.
Okay. And you guys like to come back and beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Watch out for Florida. That's the last time I bring them up on this show because we're going to wrap this show up.
Yeah, you got some drinking to do.
3 shots. Watch out for Florida, man. Anyway, hey, this was a great show. I appreciate you coming out.
Hey, thanks for having me. I had a good time. I really enjoy hanging out with you doing this stuff.
Yeah, Ohio State, man, that is the team to beat next season. I think that they're going to come back looking pretty good. This is a team that probably will go 11-1 or 10-2. That will put them in the playoffs again. Can they do a two-peat? Who knows, but we shall see. Anyway, thank you all for listening to Guys at the Bar Talking
Sports.
See ya. I just stole
Hanger.
Chopper's.
Chopper, you're Hanger.
Yep. All right. Thank you for listening to Guys at the Bar Talking
Sports.
Peace out.